So what's the best water filter in the world? Depends on whom you ask. It took me years to find a water filter that really impressed me because I'm just super picky about water quality. And throughout those years, I've been approached countless times by Kangen representatives saying that their alkalizing ionizers produce the best water. But my research showed something very different, and I knew that there had to be a better option out there. Because my preference has always been to harvest raw, wild, living spring water directly from the earth. But I know that that's not always accessible for everyone. So finally, recently, I discovered an option that can bring spring water to those folks too. And today, in honor of the hundreds of Kangen affiliates who approached me over the years, I want to offer a comparison between Enagic's Kangen water and SpringAqua water for anyone out there who's trying to decide the best way to hydrate themselves and their family. There's a lot of conflicting information about water in the world, and I hope that this can provide some guidance and clarity and at least a jumping off point for you to do your own research. We're going to compare the two systems according to their filtration, structure, ions and electrolytes, ORP, hydrogen content, pH, pricing, warranty, commissions, and then zoom out and take a broad stroke general overview. And I want to honor your time, so if you're watching this on YouTube, you can navigate using the timestamps for each topic below. And if you stick around till the end, I have a special coupon code for you as well. First, filtration. If your home is piped with tap water, you need a filter. No question. Either you get a filter or your body becomes the filter. The Kangen water filters produced by Enagic are granulated activated carbon called GAC with much larger pores that allow more things to get through. It really only removes debris and solid impurities, but things like heavy metals, fluoride, chlorine, chloramine, THMs, DBPs, and other small compounds, they all make it through into the water. In other words, if your tap water contains toxic heavy metals, then your Kangen water will still contain toxic heavy metals, regardless of the pH. According to Enagic, the Kangen machine's manufacturer, under filter specifications, it says elements not removable, metallic ions and/or salinity present in the original tap water. In water, heavy metals like mercury and lead show up as metallic ions. So if you live in an older home with lead in the pipes and own a Kangen machine, you need to get the additional heavy metal filters for it. And well water hardness, or salt in the water, is not only not removed, but it can be additionally concerning because the ionization process turns salt, sodium chloride, into chlorine. And if you purchase Enagic's additional electrolysis enhancer, which is a chemical salt solution used to make stronger Kangen water, it further increases the salt, chlorine, and calcium residue that build up in the machine and in the water. So for this reason, Kangen recommends buying separate citric acid cleansing cartridges to remove the buildup. So in short, Kangen machines by themselves are not effective filters, which is why most Kangen sales reps suggest investing in a pre-filter, which is a separate tool that you have to purchase in addition to the already overpriced Kangen machine to filter the water even before it gets to the Kangen filter. Now let's look at SpringAqua's filtration. It has a complete filtration system that removes all heavy metals, including arsenic, cadmium, hexavalent chromium, iron, lead, mercury, fluoride, nitrites, also residual chlorine, THMs, mold, yeast, and more. In short, it's a full spectrum, high quality filter that removes anything you don't want in the water. Its 14-layer filter was designed based on studying and replicating the geology of Mother Nature's underground filtration at sacred spring sites like in Lourdes, France, which produces some of the most clean and healing water on Earth. This is why the SpringAqua is called an ecosystem in a box, because its design is based on biomimicry, or replicating the Earth's process. Structure. Now let's look at water structure and crystallinity. The structure of water is really important. It's what gives the water its capacity to not only quench thirst, but moreover to facilitate life. You can think of water structure as similar to carbon structure. If I have unstructured carbon in my left hand and structured carbon in my right hand, I'm holding a lump of black coal on the left and a perfectly crystalline diamond on the right. They're both just carbon, but these allotropes behave very differently. The difference is the structure. The same is true of structured and unstructured water. It may appear as a clear liquid either way, but its effects in your body are as different as the appearance of coal and diamonds. Many Kangen representatives claim that their water is structured because it has an ionic charge. But the fact is, ionic charge does not equal molecular structure. Water crystallography is all about the strength of the hydrogen bonds. And the whole process of electrolysis breaks apart those hydrogen bonds, separating the hydrogen. So by definition, it couldn't be structuring the water. It literally rips the structure apart as it separates the molecules. Dr. Marcel Vogel, an IBM scientist, is one of the most renowned and prolific crystallographers, and he had this to say about it. Ionization of water can occur through structuring the water or by electrical hydrolysis. When the water is electrically ionized, the existing bonds in the water are torn apart. This process of ionization creates water with an electrical charge, but with no structural charge. It does not have the structural information. And Dr. Carly Nuday talks about this phenomenon a bit in her book as well. In other words, structured water may have a negative charge, and alkaline ionized water may have a negative charge, but this does not mean that the ionized water is structured. Make sense? The electrical current does cause the water molecules to align in the direction of the electrical current during hydrolysis, but there's no cohesion and connection, so the overall degree of structure in the water is reduced, even though there's alignment and charge. Now, many representatives are aware that the water is not structured, and so they recommend getting a water structure to use after the Kangen machine. Again, another separate product to buy in addition to the machine itself to do what the machine can't do. The SpringAqua structures water via a proprietary method involving vortexing, crystals, and non-electrical near and far broad spectrum frequencies, all very similar to the way that spring water is structured in the earth. It performs beautifully in UV spectrometry and nuclear magnetic resonance, or NMR, imaging tests, which are both used as measurements of crystallinity. The prototypes for this unique structuring method were developed by Dr. Henry, a professor of quantum physics with 2 PhDs in physics and optometric sciences. And the crystalline coherence of the water lasts for 3 months after it's poured. Now let's take a look at ionization. In nature, ionization happens via water's structure, its charged electrolytes, aka conductive minerals dissolved in the water, proximity to geomagnetic rock formations, rushing water flow such as waterfalls and crashing waves, as well as shifting temperature and density gradients such as those that cause water to rise to the surface of a spring. Ionization is another way of referring to the water's electrical charge, or how much energy it's conducting. Kangen machines ionize water through an electrolysis process that basically electrocutes the water. Whereas nature uses dissolved minerals and weak electromagnetic fields, such as geomagnetism, for its ionization, the Kangen uses strong man-made AC electrical currents. But unfortunately, this ionization method isn't very stable. In other words, the water doesn't hold its charge for more than a few hours. Not only does Kangen not remineralize the water, but depending on the TDS or dissolved solids of the source water going into the machine, any alkaline minerals that enter it end up as hydroxides attached to the OH negative ion. Now, the body doesn't recognize these compounds, so if your kidneys are functioning pretty well, you'll just pee them out, it's no big deal, but if not, they could actually end up as arterial plaque or as mineral deposits in the joints and tissues. With SpringAqua, the highly structured water doubles as an ionic mineral supplement. It uses the Maifan stone, a medical stone often called the sunstone, or called the mystery stone in the Japanese culture, or the life stone in the Americas, and it's used to amplify the energetic conductivity of the water and to dissolve around 26 ionically charged electrolytes and trace minerals, including quartz, calcium, magnesium, sodium, potassium, selenium, copper, zinc, etc. Ionized electrolytes are crucial because 90% of Americans are deficient in trace minerals, and that can set our bodies up for failing health. In fact, trace minerals are often the missing link in healing, and nature has designed ecosystems such that natural spring water provides doses of minerals and electrolytes necessary for our survival and our thriving. Wild spring water has beautifully balanced and buffered mineral profiles. But the domesticated, treated, denatured, processed tap water that most folks drink is sadly totally devoid of them. Restoring water and our own bloodstream back to full health has to include ionized electrolytes. Now let's compare ORP, or oxidative reductive potential, which is a measurement of the water's antioxidant capacity. Personally, I don't think it's a super important factor in water quality as it relates to hydration and health, but that's just my opinion, and some folks really value it, so I wanted to include it here for them. So the ORP of Kangen water is negative 400 millivolts, plus or minus 100 depending on the water. The ORP of SpringAqua is negative 750 millivolts plus or minus 100. So the SpringAqua has anywhere from 150 to 550 millivolts more oxidative reductive capacity. Now let's compare their hydrogen content and quality. This is where the biggest healing benefits come from with both options. Now your body is about 62% hydrogen, and the more hydrogen is in your water, the more hydrating it is. In fact, Nobel laureate Albert Szent-Györgyi said that hydrogen is the fuel of life, and it's true. Your body converts it into hydroelectric energy and ATP, and there have been thousands of studies showing its healing benefits for around 150 human diseases, ranging for everything from cancer to allergies to metabolic conditions and more. But the quality, source, and isotope of the hydrogen are really important for its effectiveness. The Kangen machine suffuses water with hydrogen at a concentration of 0.4 to 0.9 milligrams per liter or parts per million. I've read some sources that say concentration in ERW can be up to 1 part per million. And because the method uses electrolysis, the hydrogen is really unstable, so it evaporates quickly. So you have to drink the water pretty soon after pouring to get the most therapeutic effects from it. And the TDS of the source water with Kangen is a really important consideration as well, because if the water is too hard to begin with, it clogs the machine, causing it to produce far less hydrogen. Whereas if the source water is too soft, then there's not enough reaction for the electrolysis process to create therapeutic doses of hydrogen. So the tap water going through the machine has to have a TDS of at least 100 parts per million to facilitate enough hydrogen in the final water for it to have a therapeutic effect. Now, as a quick side note, there's more than one kind of hydrogen, and this is really crucial. So deuterium is an isotope of hydrogen, which because it has an extra neutron, isn't as easily converted into cellular energy and is generally not very good for you as protium hydrogen, which only has one neutron. Because the Kangen method uses electrolysis, it can sometimes result in water that's heavy in deuterium hydrogen. This depends on the quality of the cathodes and on the ratio of deuterium content in the source water to begin with, because the ionization process frees the hydrogen that's already in the water, right? So it would maintain its proportions of deuterium to protium if the cathodes are in good shape, or donate extra neutrons and increase the deuterium if they're not in good shape. Now, tap water usually has a D content of around 150 to 157 parts per million. Now, the SpringAqua Wet 7 model suffuses water with a concentration of 1.4 to 1.6 parts per million. So if you're doing the math, that's anywhere between 0.4 or 1.2 parts per million more hydrogen than the Kangen. Now, the Wet 3 model doesn't add hydrogen, although it's a great filter and a great structurer, but this is why I mostly only recommend the Wet 7 model. And because it adds hydrogen through the alchemy of dissolved magnesium in the water, the hydrogen is far more stable and it evaporates much more slowly. Now, according to Tyler LeBaron of the Molecular Hydrogen Institute, the world's leading hydrogen research center, the SpringAqua produces 100% protium hydrogen. It doesn't alter the deuterium content of the source water, but it does shift the ratio by adding so much de novo protium hydrogen to it. Now let's compare their pH. Again, this is another water measurement that I don't personally pay much attention to, but many people really value it, so I wanted to include it here so that we can be thorough. So Kangen offers a broad range of pH options along a scale from 2.7 to 11. And this versatility is one area where Kangen really shines, because the unnaturally strong acidic and unnaturally strong alkaline waters on the far end of the spectrum are good options for cleaning and cosmetics, but when it comes to the health effects of drinking alkaline water, most experts agree that it doesn't actually really matter. Even the president of the Korean Water Society, who conducted a number of studies in the 1990s showing the effectiveness of Kangen and alkaline ionized water against things like diabetes and cancer, he also later showed that when the hydrogen gas was removed, the water was no longer healing regardless of the pH. So it's really not the pH that's healing, it's the hydrogen. And Dr. Hidemitsu Hayashi, a cardiac surgeon and director of the Water Institute in Japan, also determined that the benefits of alkaline ionized water were only due to the hydrogen in the water, not due to its alkalinity. He had been one of the most pioneering researchers and proponents of alkalizing ionizer machines decades ago, but eventually he abandoned it and devoted his efforts towards hydrogen-rich water instead. It wasn't until around 2007 that it was discovered that Kangen's medicinal benefits were derived totally from the hydrogen and not from the pH. But By then, the company had already established a stronghold within the market with their alkaline-based approach. Now, the body is designed to thrive in balance, and it's really hard to change the body's pH through outside influence. So the claim that drinking unbuffered high pH water will counteract acidosis is just unfounded. Now, the pH of SpringAqua water ranges between 7.4 to 9.5, depending on which handle you pour the water with. Okay, now let's compare the price differences. There are several available models of Enagic Kangen machines ranging from $2,000 to $6,000. There are 3 available models of SpringAqua ranging from $1,900 to $4,200. So for the smallest models, it's only $100 difference. For the best model, the SpringAqua is $1,800 cheaper. And these numbers are not including, of course, the extra pre-filters and electrolysis enhancers and citric acid cleansers, etc. that you have to buy for your Kangen machines. Whereas the SpringAqua is all-inclusive except for shipping and installation. Now, both Kangen and the SpringAqua offer financing to pay them off over time, which is really helpful. And with both options, it's usually best to replace the filter about once a year. Now let's look at commissions for the folks interested in the business side of things. Kangen is an MLM or multi-level marketing, aka direct sales style business where people join hierarchical team structures where most of their income can be earned through recruiting other salespeople and receiving commissions that funnel up through the generations and branches of their downline, their team. Now, the benefit of this is that there's the shared sense of community and co-creation, and there's this nearly tribal feeling of sharing your visions and goals with other people who are pursuing health and wealth, and that's a really attractive experience for a lot of people, helping them feel like they're a part of something meaningful. The downside is that it can sometimes breed people who view others only as sales prospects and who know very little about real water science. Of course, there are countless amazing people with pure hearts, sincere intentions, and compassionate natures who are involved with the company. I'm not putting them down whatsoever. They've been told that Kangen water is the best water and they really want to help people. But many have made it into this off-putting cultish phenomenon, and honestly, there are a lot of drawbacks to MLM-style businesses in general that I won't go into here. It's a subjective thing, but my own experiences aside, let's just get to the objective comparison of the facts. So SpringAqua also offers generous affiliate commissions for each unit that's sold, but it's not an MLM-style business. It's a traditional business structure with a collaborative 3-generation model. So the focus is not on building big teams and recruiting salespeople. The focus is just on the water. So you can still work together with your friends if you want, but only 3 generations. And you can still earn really good income, but not mostly off the backs of other people's work down line. There aren't sprawling webs of up and down lines, and there are no ranks to hit, and you don't move up some kind of structure like you do with MLMs. And you know that when you buy a machine, your money isn't going straight into the commissions of an upline of 100 people whom you've never even met. This is one of the ways that SpringAqua is able to keep their prices so much lower despite having a higher quality product. They just keep the affiliate side of things really simple, though they still have generous commissions. They also have a really nice hands-off option available for any folks who want to share but don't consider themselves salespeople, where the SpringAqua customer service team will actually get engaged with and chat with and educate your people directly, which just saves you time and streamlines the process so you don't have to get salesy. Okay, final thoughts. I have some other concerns about Kangen water that I feel it's really important to express here because their marketing is so strong, it often fills the field with only one perspective, but a balanced perspective is necessary so that people can make more informed choices for their health. From what I've seen since I first started studying water in 2009, I feel I have an ethical obligation to raise awareness about the possible dangers of drinking unnatural electrocuted water. There have been 3 separate studies showing that drinking alkaline ionized water in the long term could cause cell death called necrosis, fibrosis, and other complications in heart muscles in rats. And you can check the waterslife.love/blog article that accompanies this video for direct links to those studies. I've known several people as well who, after many years of drinking the water, develop intense bloating. And I spoke with a nurse practitioner who's seen multiple patients with a preponderance of H. pylori and ulcers because they had been diluting the hydrochloric acids in their stomach for so many years and depleting their acidophilus, which in Latin means literally acid-loving bacteria. And I met a naturopath who specializes in live blood analysis in Santa Fe who says she can always discern the blood of someone who's been a long-term drinker of alkaline ionized water because they have more ruptured cells, which makes sense now in the context of the cell necrosis study that I mentioned before. Of course, the majority of people probably will never suffer these issues, and if they do arise, they don't happen in the short term. In fact, it's really common for people to have really beautiful healing experiences drinking the water in the short term. That's because, one, if you drop a few grand on a machine, you're probably going to be drinking a lot more water, more hydration is usually better in general, regardless of the type. And two, they're getting more molecular hydrogen. Again, the benefits come from the hydrogen, but there are more natural ways of getting hydrogen without electrocuting the water with unnatural man-made voltages and sending it into extreme imbalances that are not seen in nature. All the same health benefits one receives from alkalized, electrolyzed, reduced water can be received from healthy, natural, molecular hydrogen-enriched, ionic, electrolyte-rich water. To be fair, am I always 100% anti-electrolysis? No, I've seen some contexts in which it's used responsibly, such as applications like Brown's gas, hydroxy gas, and plasma machines, but usually the hydrogen gas is then rerouted into a second glass of unionized water, and one doesn't drink directly from the original ionized water, just the second dissolved hydrogen water. But those are all another topic for another video, and they're still not my preferred daily drinking water, personally. Final thoughts on SpringAqua. The main reason that I choose to endorse the SpringAqua is because it's based on the brilliance of Mother Earth's hydrology. It uses no electricity at all, so it's not a machine. It's not another transhumanist feat of electro-masturbatory techno-nonsense, sorry, but it's an ode to nature's perfection. The inventors studied the hydrology of some of the most perfectly healing water in the world found at Bernadette's Grotto in Lourdes, France. Since 1860, around 200 million people have visited this spring to partake of its healing water. There have been over 7,000 documented, unexplained cures from the water, 69 of which are officially recognized as miracles by the Catholic Church. And SpringAqua was created to mirror the 14 layers of unique Lourdes geology and the spring's hydrogen composition. It mimics real, mature spring water as well as humans are currently capable of doing on this scale. Of course, I don't think that miracles can be measured, and there's something of the unnameable divine mystery in the Lourdes water that can't be quantified or replicated. But maybe that's why SpringAqua brought on board the quantum physicist, Dr. Henry, to design the prototypes for the water and structuring and energizing designs that bless the water with something of the quantum mysterious or miraculous. Regardless, hands down, of course, I'd still rather drink straight from Bernadette's Grotto in Lourdes, France. That can't be replaced. But in the meantime, I will happily have a nature-based little ecosystem under my sink and drink from SpringAqua. Now, as promised at the beginning of the video, here's your discount code. If you go to waterislife.shop, under the Filtration collection, you'll find the SpringAqua where you can learn more and use the coupon code WATERISLIFE to receive a free shower filter worth $104 with your purchase. Here's your TLDR overview, where Kangen outshines SpringAqua is creating water for cleaning and household uses like washing veggies and cosmetic uses, etc. So if you want to spend thousands just for a fancy cleaning appliance, knock yourself out. Where SpringAqua outshines Kangen is in literally every other category that we explored today: filtration, structure, electrolytes, ionization, hydrogen, price tag, warranty, and overall nature-guided biomimicry. In conclusion, returning to the question that I asked at the very beginning of this video, what is the absolute best water filter in the world? Honestly, it's neither one of these. The Earth is the best water filter. The Earth's geology and hydrological cycles are the ideal way of filtering, structuring, energizing, aerating, enlivening, and maturing water. But without a doubt, the SpringAqua comes the closest to mirroring nature's wisdom compared to anything else on the market. My hero, Victor Schauberger, lived by the maxim, comprehend and copy nature. So let's learn from nature, let's mimic nature, let's turn towards nature's wisdom. And when we don't have access to fresh, raw, wild harvested, natural spring water, which is ideal, then let's do our best to ennoble our drinking water back to its spring quality state through more gentle methods that mirror a healthy ecosystem. Because what we do to water, we do to ourselves. So thank you for joining me on this little journey today. Have a beautiful day, be well, and stay hydrated.